Hey guys, so I'm in a practice room here. Gonna talk about, you can see my notes already taped up on the wall so I don't skip anything. Gonna talk about the front ensemble approach that we're gonna use at Bullitt East next year. So let's actually start with two mallets and gonna talk about the grip a little bit, okay? So, unlike the drums in the battery, or, well, kind of like the drums in the battery, actually. We're not just going to hold here, we're not just going to hold here, it's the entire hand, okay? And we're going to turn mostly at the wrist with a little bit of arm motion. Let me do this so you can see the keyboard while I'm demonstrating. The only thing is as you can see, when you strike the keyboard, it doesn't rebound up. So we do have to lift back up on our own, okay? Whole hand, using mostly wrist, a little bit of arm on bigger notes. The same rule that applied for the battery applies for us as well. The faster we're moving, the less arm there is and the more wrist there is. Now, when I say arm, and I did this, which was probably a bad idea, it shouldn't be just arm. It should be your elbow wiggles because it's so relaxed. Your elbow wiggles because it's so relaxed that when your wrist moves, your elbow moves too. Okay, so does that make more sense? Hopefully. So I'm actually going to take this off as I'm talking so you can see my elbow more. So we've got the grip, we've got wrist versus arm. The last thing is playing spot. And let me lower the keyboard a little bit more here. As you can see, we've got a resonator here. That's really important, especially on the new marimba, but on all of the mallet instruments, that we play directly over top of the resonators. Right? So that way you get the most fundamental pitch possible. Now, there are a few different things. If we're playing quicker or at a faster tempo, and we have to play accidentals, it's going to be hard to go, right? So you're going to use the very edge of the bar instead. But when you do that, you don't want to play right over the resonator, because listen to the difference. Hear how much louder this is? Because you get more fundamental pitch. So you want to move towards the back of the resonator, close to the accidentals. So the pitch speaks the same way from each bar, okay? Now, obviously, on the vibraphone, because the bars are flat against each other and not raised up over top, you're going to want to play in the center of every bar as much as you can on the vibraphone. Always is my rule. And I personally will tell you if there's a chord or a place that you need to play somewhere other than the middle of the bars. So with that being said, we're going to take the accidental faster bar approach. Let me adjust this so I can see still. Sorry. I just want to make sure you guys can see everything you need to. We're going to take the edge of the bar, front of the resonator approach, and we're going to look at the first exercise by itself. You'll have some scales in there. Those are for your knowledge. You definitely need to know those. But once we get into the season, we're not going to be playing those as much as a group. We're going to look at green, okay? So, first of all, hey, what's up? I'm making an instructional video, so you can, yeah, thanks. Sorry. So, first of all, to start and stop together, let me lock this door here. Sorry about that. That was kind of awkward. First of all, to start and stop, the center marimba is going to, we'll always have our mallets up, okay? That way, it's one motion of down and up. And the center marimba will give us time. So if we're starting in C major, you'll see 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and strike. Okay? Now, if you are not the center marimba, then you will see 1 and 2 and you'll match 3 and 4 and strike. Okay, so let's say my left hand is the center marimba player, my right hand is the next person over. You're going to see 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and okay. Hopefully that makes sense. We'll work on attacks more when we get into rehearsal time. So now, let's go ahead. I'm going to play the exercise for you, and I'm going to go through to 4 key signatures. Okay, it's going to start in C, like it says on the paper, and you're going to move chromatically, which means you'll play it in C, and your last note will be C again, and you'll go release 2, 3, 4, and start the exercise again, but on D flat. So you have to think of it as scales, not just little black dots on the page, you know, what's written here. Like, you got to know your scales. That's why those are listed first in the packet. So, here's how it would go. And I'm going to act as center marimba so you can get all 4 beats beforehand. As you see, I ended with my mallets up here, right? You'll notice partway through that I started in 2 and 3 and 4 and you know, last season we got a lot of comments from the judges about how our front ensemble moves. Do we move together? Are we moving at all? That's how you need to move. You need to keep time with your body, with your head projected up when you can, not necessarily in the keyboard, but while you're doing faster things, you know, like you can look up after, okay, or before, you know, look down a prep beat. So that'll kind of help us with that. I think that's all with 2 mallets. Now we're going to move on to 4 mallets. And we're going to start with how you hold the mallets. Okay, so doing this, you're going to take your hand flat, put the middle of the mallet in the middle of your palm, lay it across your first knuckle on your pointer finger. Okay, you might have to bend it in some, that's okay. Place your thumb over top of it. Okay, now, next, you'll have your 3 other fingers. You'll slide that second mallet between your middle and ring finger, and you'll close them all down. Now, as you close them down, your middle finger is going to hold close to the bottom of that first mallet. Okay, then you just slide those in there. It should look similar to that. Okay, give you all angles here. You want to try and make this mallet as close to in between the first knuckle on your ring finger and middle finger as you can. And you want to always keep the mallet, the inner mallet, on that first knuckle. If you're pulling in, you're not going to be able to adjust as much. If it's on the first knuckle, it's going to adjust way more. Okay. So with that being said, wrist versus arm is going to be the same idea. I'm going to point this at the marimba again. Mostly wrist with some arm due to relaxation. See how little arm there was? Doesn't have to be. Bigger stuff it can be, but that all comes from the wrist bend. As for playing spots, it's very similar. If you're on all of what would be white keys on the piano, you can play over the resonators. If you're on all what would be black keys, you're over the resonators, okay? If there's a mix, you'll see in the next exercise I'm about to play, you'll have a B flat and an F. You're going to have to play near the edge on the B flat, so you want the other two mallets on the F to be at the front of the resonator. And this is really important stuff because this is what's going to project up into the mics, into what the audience hears. So if you're playing like this, you're going to hear much more top note than chord unless you play like this. A little off the resonator, or a little in front of the resonator. Okay? So, with that being said, we're going to play the double stops exercise now. Okay? And starting and stopping is going to be the same thing. Starts up here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? And that wrist bend, as you do that, should be the same wrist bend as if you're striking the instrument. So if you put your two fingers here, you would want to poke your two fingers with your wrist, okay? So, that being said, if my left hand was the center marimba and my right hand was the next person over, it could look like this. Okay? So, again, I'll be acting as center marimba, and I will play double stops for you so you get a playing example, what your hands should look like. Note that the marimbas play an octave down on this as well, okay? Okay, and as I move through there, another person's coming in, sorry. As I move through there, to change the interval, I'm simply rolling across the pointer finger. If you want to give me like 5 minutes, thanks. It rolls across the pointer finger with the thumb kind of pushing it across, okay? And as that happens, your middle finger may pull that mallet towards the front of your hand more. I don't know if you can see that there. Yeah, sure, there you can. Okay, cool. And that's only going to adjust a little bit as you go up. The more you go up, the smaller it'll get, obviously. Same thing. The farther you go down, the bigger it'll get. Okay? The last exercise we're going to talk about is laterals. And you like my notes taped on the wall there. And this is going to use independent strokes, okay? So, sort of like that. So to do this, what you want to think about is taking one mallet and rotating around it, okay? Just like what I would do is I would hold this in my hand a lot when I was first learning this. I would rotate that mallet and strike my forearm very lightly, you know. You don't have to beat yourself up. But basically to get the idea that if you're striking the instrument quickly, that other mallet is going to move very little. That way, You know, if I'm trying to play a quick run with 4 mallets in my hands, you're not going, you know, you can. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Awesome. Cool. Cool. So here's a playing example of laterals, and then I think we'll be done with this. Again, I'll be acting as center marimba, so you'll get all 4 beats. Cool, awesome. So, things to think about before the next video, for next camp. Your 2 mallet technique, you've got your grip, your wrist versus your arm motion, different playing spots over the resonator in front, edge over the resonator, behind even. The green exercise, thinking about how you're starting and stopping with 2 mallets, knowing your scales so you can move up chromatically. 4 mallet technique, you've got your grip, let's see, your rotation around each mallet when playing laterals. Again, your wrist versus arm and the playing spots, which are very similar to the 2 mallets. And then moving through your double stops and your laterals exercise. So hopefully, with that being said, you should be good to go. Awesome. I'll see you guys next time.